Hello everyone, good morning. Today we are going to learn SAP IAG and in SAP IAG we are going to learn especially the access request services module, and this access request services module we will be using to raise access request in using IAG to any connected satellite system with IAG. So let's see that how we can utilize access request services module in SAP IAG. So to start with, here you can see these are the specific type of query, specific type of modules we have in SAP IAG. We can have like in SAP Cloud SAP IAG, like a privileged access management we have, where we have to provide the access to the user in case of emergency. Whereas access analysis, this module is used especially to find the risk in a user and to define the risk, to mitigate the risk and to remediate the risk. So those things we can do especially in the access analysis services. And then you have the role design module. So the role design module is especially used to define a role, a business role using SAP IAG. And then you have the access request services. So this module is especially used to raise the access request using IAG. And then once you raise the access request in IAG, it will be following the workflow and the specific path here, and based on the requested system it will be going for a specific path, and then it will be creating a user based on the number of stages is there. So with this, like, it is an automated way to create a user. You can find the risk analysis before approving a request, you can mitigate the risk before approving the request, and that's how it's happen in access request. And then you have one more module like access certification module. So where during the period of time the people is keep asking some of the other access. So after some period of time you want to review it, whether the access is correct to the user, or if you feel like, or the control team feel that this access is not appropriate to the user, they can remove the access from the user, or they can mitigate that access to the user. So that's is for access certification module. So these are the modules especially we have in SAP Cloud IAG. And coming back to the specific process flow. So this is the process flow for SAP IAG access request. So here in IAG, if anybody need any access or they want to modify their access, they will be raising a request in SAP IAG using SAP IAG application. And once they raise a request, then this request is being submitted in SAP IAG and it will be going to the respective approver. Approver has the option to analyze the risk and they can mitigate the risk, and if they feel if risk is not there, either they can approve the request or they can mitigate that risk. And once they approve or reject the risk, so once they approve the request, then it will be going the status as the approval status, and then your control team or compliance team is there who can review or audit the request, and then the provisioning happening. So once the provisioning happening, then the user who is raising a request for a respective system, so his ID will be gets created and role will be assigned to him. Okay, so these are the people involved during this process flow of access request in IAG. So administrator is there in case of any. Sometimes administrator also can raise a request on behalf of users, or maybe the end user also can request on by themselves. So these are the two people, and then we have the approvers, maybe the role owner, maybe the manager, and then the compliance team whose responsibility is to review the audit logs and audit of that request. So that is their responsibility, and then the provisioning happen automatically in SAP IAG. So that's the process flow. So to see that process flow in the system, we just go to directly to the system, and then we are raising a access request in SAP IAG. So here we logged in SAP IAG system, okay, with one user, and then to raise a access request, these two query groups is given by SAP. So how the user will be going to get these many query application, that will be dependent on their access, and we will be providing this access to this user in SAP BTP. Using BTP as a platform where we provide the access to the users who need in the respective application which is subscribed in BTP. So now these are the two Fiori groups are there. If you see here, the access request is there and access request for others is there. So in the access request group, these many Fiori applications are there. To raise the access request for self, a person has to go for create access request Fiori application, and then he can raise a request. Access request status Fiori application is used to find the status where the status has been currently. So from here we can find the status of the access request. Request administration, this is especially used for the user, the administrator, like who is working as IAG administrator, to see the access request, or in case in some reason if you want to cancel the request, you have the ability to cancel using the access administration Fiori application. And these two Fiori application, HR event report and HR log report, this is especially used in case of HR trigger is being configured with SAP IAG. So in case of any HR events, for example, if any hiring is happening, which is a kind of HR event, so that SAP IAG will raise the access request for the user for a respective system, and this will happening automatically. Okay, and similar case in case of any user is leaving the organization, so his leaving also a kind of event, HR event. So if he is leaving the organization, his access has to be removed from the system. So these are the kind of event, and these two report is especially used for that purpose, to find out whether it is triggered correctly and the user is created correctly in case of he is joining the organization or hired into the organization. So that is the main purpose. And this is the access, this is one more Fiori application to raise access request for others. So as a administrator, suppose if you want to create access request for others, so we click on this Fiori application, and then here you can see the list of users which is created in IAS as a data source. So you can select any user from here, for example X user 4, and then you can select the role, which role you want to assign to this user from here by searching here. So you can say these many roles are there. We randomly select any role here, and then assume like user want to assign this role to him for that user whom we are requesting. So here is a select a specific role, and then this role, then the reason is there, what reason he want to assign. So this reason also we can also create in the SAP IAG. The priority also we can create as a data master data, that like we have to create as a prerequisite to before make this IAG for access request has to work. So then we select the manager here, and the email ID for the manager. Okay, and here we have the option like this role is there. So this role we want to assign from which date. So the date is here mandatory to assign a date. So we just keep here some date, and here you have the additional detail in case if you have some ticket number, you can mention here the ticket number as well on behalf, like you are creating any access request, or if you have any access request form available. So you have the option here to browse and add this access request form for the record purpose. And if you don't have, then like if you want to submit, you can submit the access request like this. It will ask you the pop-up, and then you can say yes. So then you can see when access request have been created into the system, and you can see the access request number 38 have been submitted, and this the request detail you can see in this access request status. So this is the Fiori application to find the status of the access request currently where the access request is right now. So if you go to this access request number 38, you can see right now it is waiting for the approver, and the approver is manager stage. Right now it's pending for the manager stage for approval. So we just already logged in into another browser as a manager. So if you see here, right now it is waiting for the approver, and this approver is IAG admin. So we already logged in this user IAG admin underscore IAG admin, and then to approve the request he has to go to an access request, and then in this access request you can see the access request inbox is there. So all the requests has been coming to his inbox here in the access request inbox. So once you click here, you can see the access request number 38 waiting for him to approve. So as on the manager stage, if you click here, Then he can see the detail of the access request here. So and then he can see this is the person, and then he is asking this role, and this role currently the user doesn't have any risk, so it is showing you the 0 risk. Otherwise you have the option to remediate the risk. Okay, so since it is no risk, that's fine. So if you want to approve, he just have to click on the radio button like approve, and then submit the request. So once he submit the request has been approved from his stage. Okay, now it will be going for the role owner for approving the request. So you can see here, since we made the same person as a role owner, you can see the 38 number is still in his inbox as a role owner stage. So he is working as a role owner, and then he also has to approve the request as a role owner. So currently this access request has the 2 level of approval. So one is manager, and then second is the role owner stage. So he suppose approve this request also, and then once he approve this, then you can see the access request 38 number is moved out from his inbox. Okay, and then we go to this administration here, and then if you refresh here, right now it is, you can say it is pending, but if you refresh, you can see the access request status number 38 is approved. So let's refresh. So you can see now the access request has been approved, and currently even though it is approved, it is showing like it is in process. You can see the 2 approval, it is approved and it is in process. So in IAG, even though the access request has been approved, it is not provisioned immediately. To provision any access request which is approved, we have to schedule a job, or we have to run a job, and to run a job we have to come to the administration Fiori group, and then you go to the job scheduler, and here you can schedule a job here. For example, provisioning underscore something 009 something. I'm just giving some name, and then here you can select. So these are the jobs are there, but for you, since we are going for provisioning, we have to select this job and to schedule a job. So here you have the option to recurring job, like every 2 minutes or 5 minutes, based on your workload of your servers. So then you can see here the job is been scheduled. So this job also we can find the status here in the Fiori application, like job history list. So in this job history list, it will give you the list of like a log for your the job you can schedule here in this application. So you can see the provisioning job is there. So these many other different job logs are there, but you are interested only for the provisioning log. So you come here, and then you can see your job is been finished. So this is your job name, and once you get inside, see some details here, and then you can see the log is been mentioned here, and then total number of provisioning item 1 is there. Application S/4HANA on-premise, you can say this role is there, which is requested and which is assigned to the user, and provisioning successful. So this is how the provisioning works in SAP IAG, and you observe right now it is following the 2 level of approval. So how this modification of the workflow and the path, how we can do in SAP IAG. To know that information, we have to go to the configuration, and in the configuration, if you go to the business role, launch it. So once you launch here, it will show you some screen here, SAP IAG workflow business rule, get inside, and then if you go here, the rules. So inside the rule, you can see the access request rule type is there. If you go inside, you have some decision table here for access request, and in the decision table, if you go, so these many inputs are there. So if you are raising an access request for change, then you have this particular path is there. So this is a kind of path here. So once anybody is raising a request, it will be going for this path, and this path has how many stage, that is defined in another Fiori application. We will be showing you in a minute. But these are the different type. If you want to review any log for emergency access, like a privileged access management system, so then you can use this path. If you want to raise an access request for PAM ID, then you can follow this path, and this is for the especially for HR trigger. So for retirement is a kind of input, so that which path it has to go, and this is for the review purpose, like a access review module. So anyhow, for us this is the one important one. And then how this is mapped to the role app. So this is like a custom path only we have defined here, where we define here. Let's see that also. So to define that particular template, we have to go for maintain workload template, Fiori application, and in this template, some of the Fiori template is defined by the SAP only. So these, whatever you can see here where standard template tick mark is there, so these are the standard template. So SAP already defined the specific path and the level of approval. You can say manager only path, then security lead approval is there, manager workload only manager is there, or role owner, maybe the role owner is there, or different path is there, or stages is there. So we created a custom path. If you observe here, the role APP is the custom one, and then in this role, in this path, role APP path, we have defined 2 level of approval, and that's what we have configured or mapped this role APP here in this business rule. So that's what it is calling 2 level of approval. So if you want to make a change here, you have the option here to use that. For example, this path or this path, manager workflow path. So that you can configure here in using that particular path. Okay. So that's the one from my side to show you how the access request has been working in the system, and where we can make the configuration. So that's all from my side. Thank you for all. So in case if you have any query, you can reach out to me on this email ID, vikas.g.sapsecurity@gmail.com. This is my number, or this is my website. You can reach out to my website for further detail, or if you have any query. Thank you everyone, and that's all for now. Bye bye.